leadership in this country that is inspiring people to want to build more for themselves, build more for our fellow Americans, build more for our government, for our country, and less so, what is our country, what is our government going to do for us, as has been the case, not just, post World War II or even pre World War II with FDR, but definitely since Kennedy's, John F. Kennedy, since Richard Nixon. I don't think we've had a leader that has really been a portrayal of these ideals, at least as much as Donald Trump. And again, I don't think he's the greatest leader by any stretch of the imagination. But if me personally, I was just going to rank all of our presidential leaders, going back at least till Richard Nixon, I'd maybe give Richard Nixon an 8 out of 10 as far as like what it means to be a leader, to represent this country. Donald Trump, I would give anywhere between a 6.5, 7.5. And between Richard Nixon and Donald Trump, I would struggle to give anyone more than a 6, maybe even a 5 as far as being a leader. Now, we've had great actors that could act as a great leader in the form of Ronald Reagan, who was literally an actor, or less so of a formal actor in President Obama. I grew up revering President Obama, and obviously very presidential in the form of how he can articulate an idea, a statesman, if you will. But I like to say Obama was great at making bad ideas sound great. And obviously not to the whole country. There was more than a fair share of people that didn't like Obama even running back in 2008 and more so in 2012. But to me, he was like the ideal of what a president should be for this country, until I actually started to look deeper into his background and just not even his background as much as like just long form content that he was putting out there, whether it's ideals for what he had with Obamacare, which I do think, again, we live in a day and age that people, especially American citizens, should not have to worry about a broken arm, getting cancer. They should have the ability to go get treated publicly and not go bankrupt doing so. At the same time, I think we should have private healthcare options, which, again, wasn't totally being done away with Obamacare. But more importantly, I think you could just see a lot of what he was speaking about. It was almost like the cliche of a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? You'll hear one thing in a very presidential sort of manner, but then not actually enact those policies or do a complete 180 on those policies. And that's where, again, looking the part is different than actually, filling the part. And where Trump may not look the part and may not even do the best job at filling the part, I still think, if you give him a 6.5, 7.5, that's just basically borderline passing, right? And I think that's a fair assessment. Now, if we were to look at our other real candidate that we had as an option in Kamala Harris, I would struggle to give her anything more than a 2 out of 10. Where I do